Hello, you beautiful people out there. Welcome back to my channel. Many of you were asking if I could do a new recording of the sort of a knotted donut pendant that I made a while ago. And so I really wanted to take a deeper dive into how to construct that from scratch. I'm just going to concentrate on the donut, on the pendant part, and then kind of talk through some of the findings and how to attach everything together at the end. So let's get into it, shall we? I'm going to flash a picture of the thing that we're going to make today, and I'm going to pop down over to my camera that's on my table. And so this is the finished constructed design. And again, I'm going to break down all of the different steps required to create this beautiful knotted pendant. It kind of to me resembles a donut, so I kept saying that. But really, it just depends on how much space you leave in the center there. But really, we're going to work with the single color first, just to kind of get our feet wet with it. And then we're going to make things a little confused and complicated and add two colors, right? Hopefully, it won't be by the time we're done. All right. I'm going to take around a 2 feet length. Now, this is actually probably closer to a full spool, but really you just need about a couple feet of this SilverSilk capture or Pearlesque chain. So this chain has a ball chain core, so it's going to have some great structure and stability to this particular technique. Um, and the knitted wire on top of it just adds that beautiful metallic intricacy, deliciousness over the ball chain. And so we got some really good stuff to work with here. So I'm also using a color called River, which is silver plated ball chain inside of dark blue knitted wire. What I'm going to do is to one side of this, I'm going to loop around just like that. And I'm working directly on my table surface here just to make things easier. I'm going to go up through my loop with one end, and I don't want to pull it super tight, but I do want to be kind of closer to having a smaller piece of knitted wire here to work with. So I'm going to go up through that loop. I'm going to go back down right on top. I'm going to go underneath that particular chain length there. And then I'm going to go on top of the bottom part of my loop there. Now, again, I'm going to go back in and just kind of get things nice and aligned. So it should look like this. You've got a nice little twist in there, and then it kind of just works itself back down. I'm going to go down and up through that bottom part of my loop so that my chain now loops underneath that bottom part and kind of twist together there. I'm going to go on top of my middle chain. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. So I'm going to go underneath that top part of my loop, and I'm going to pretty much just kind of exit up, and I'm going to start to pull everything tight. It should look like a hot mess right now, but whenever you start to tighten this thing together, it's going to take shape. What you have to do here is work from one end of your chain and pull on the other so that whenever you start to tighten things up, it starts to kind of come together cleanly. So I'm going to take my tail here and just hold on to it, and I'm going to start to just use that to tighten everything up. Okay, again, it'll look like a hot mess until everything is sort of pulled nice and tight at the end here. But just have a little patience, and you'll see it. You'll notice that it starts to come together quite beautifully, in fact. So this is, there's one more part to completing this round knotted pendant. And so just hang tight here. Okay, that looks like a pretty good size, and I've got this cool like split between my chains here. So I'm going to bring it all together now. So the last step is I'm going to grab where the tail end of my chain here is here. I'm going to go down and up through the loop that's right next to it. So basically, I killed that little open space in between it, and I brought everything together into this beautiful little round knotted pendant design here. Pretty easy. I could even work to make this a little tighter if I wanted to. In fact, let's just see what that would look like. It will look like a hot mess until I get it all wrapped up at the end here. And you'll see it magically kind of just come together. Okay, there we go. So what I do is I just kind of fluff this up, and you'll be surprised at how much it just kind of falls right in place there. So that is essentially it, and you can add in your end caps and stuff there at the end. But now we're gonna kind of kick things to a whole nother level and try it with two chains. So I'm going to undo all of this and add in a silver chain to my design. And this is going to be one of those videos that you'll probably want to stop and replay as you're doing this because it'll just make things a lot easier. Easier to follow along for sure. All right, now we're working with two colors, so it's a little bit of an extra like challenge basically with this. But we can do this. We totally got this, you guys. All right, so I'm going to grab both of my chains and I'm going to loop them as before. I'm going to make sure that the colors stay organized and follow each other accordingly. So where I started here is that my not storm, river chain is on the outside and I've got silver on the inside. So I want to make sure I have that same continuity throughout this entire design process. So I'm going to loop that around. I'm going to grab both chains again. Probably would help if I cut these at equal length earlier, but that's all right. Okay, I'm going to come up through my loop as such, leaving myself enough room here to play with and work with as I'm constructing this. I'm going to now go down through my loop. I'm going to come up through the bottom part of my loop. Now, essentially what this does is it creates an extra bit of loop here and a series of rows of chain that I can weave through. That's really the big idea for this technique, is that you're creating these warps within the chain itself to be able to weave this pendant together. So now you just go up, down through, and then up through that next loop, and then you kind of just exit out. Now, again, looks like a hot mess, right? But wait until we start to tighten stuff up because that's where the real magic is. And because you're using two colors, you'll need to spend some extra time really going back through and constructing and organizing those colors in the appropriate lines that they should be in. That's part of the fun, I think, of this whole project too, is that once you see everything kind of come together, it's such a surprise and amazing, I don't know, revelation of something that you created. Okay, I'm just going to slide this down because in this pendant, what we're doing here is that, I put a double strand end cap here at the end. So I want to make sure I have enough to do that, but I don't want to waste any of the chain if I can help it. So again, just kind of go through, tighten things up first, and then go back through and sort out how the colors should be laying next to each other. Ooh, there we go. Okay, before I complete that last step, at this point, what I want to do is go back through and make sure that my colors are laying in the right spot. That is important before completing this design. Okay, got a little bit of silver there sticking out. And then once you kind of pull on that, everything else is just kind of lining up in the space, in its proper space here. So that's what I got. In fact, if you wanted to, you could just put on double strand end caps on either end here and have this really cool, longer rectangle shaped pendant. Would still look equally beautiful. Or you could go with the round shape and then find that space between your tail and that loop, and then just push right up through it as such. Pull everything nice and tight, kind of fluff up your knot that you just made, and you have got yourself a fabulous little knotted component. Pendant, it could be a component. You could attach beads to this at the bottom if you wanted to, because you've got this gap between the chains. So there's a number of possibilities that you can do with this. The color combinations alone, I think, is enough to blow my mind. But really, you would just trim these two little ends off, attach your double strand end caps, and then in this design, I just used some more silver silk chain from a trio pack, and in fact just put on a front-facing clasp and called it good. Attaching the end caps is very easy. It doesn't require any special glue or tools. You just need a couple of jump rings and a pair of wide nose pliers, to which you just use those to crimp over the chain and you're good to go. So that's really it for the design. I'm going to go back to my face, and it hopefully makes sense how I explained it. And again, this video is for replay. And so if you find yourself getting lost, you could do a couple different things. You can rewatch the parts that I just recorded. And if you're still confused, then just hit me up with an email. Excuse me, orders at silversilkonline.com. Can't even remember my own email. You can also do some light shopping at silversilkonline.com if you're in the mood. And then you can follow us over on YouTube and Instagram at SilverSilk and more. And if you're looking for even more inspiration, you can check out our Silkies Facebook group. There we have a thriving community of SilverSilk creators, influencers, just all sorts of fun designs that I wouldn't have even thought of to do by our own little community. So come and join us. But other than that, I hope you guys are inspired and eager to try this technique. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a giant thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys next time over on this channel and for the next tutorial.